Welcome to the Hope Unlocked podcast. I'm your host, Kristin Kurtz, and I'm also the founder of New Wings Coaching. I help and empower wild-hearted and adventurous women of faith feeling caged and stuck unlock their true purpose and potential, break free from limitations, and thrive with confidence, courage, and hope. If you're curious to learn more about coaching with me, head to newwingscoaching.net and be sure to explore the show notes for ways to connect with me further. Get ready to dive in as we uncover empowering keys and insights in this episode. So tune in and let's unlock hope together. Welcome to the Hope Unlocked podcast. I'm Kristin Kurtz, your host. I pray this episode is like a holy ivy of hope for your soul. Please help me welcome Tammy Ryder-Harms to the show. I'm so excited to have her here today. We are actually new and fast friends who is a connection through Elisa Rabin-Bell, who I had the privilege of also interviewing, and she's episode 143 if you want to go check her out. But it's so exciting to meet people who are actually local and happen to live in the town right west of you. So, Tammy, would love for you to just share a little bit about yourself before we get into your story.
Well, hello. I am so grateful to be here. And yes, we are fast friends. I am so grateful that I saw that you did a podcast with Elisa. And I love the work that you're doing with New Wings Coaching and your podcast. And so I just feel super honored and blessed to be here with you. And just really blessed to share where the Lord has led me, because life is a journey, and it took a while for me to figure out what I was meant for. I mean, I know I was born on purpose and with a purpose, and I knew that the things that he had me walking through in my life was sharpening my sword and preparing me for something. And he was teaching me patience because I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. So I often liken it to like putting down puzzle pieces, and the Lord sets down puzzle pieces very slowly, one at a time.
Yes.
And you don't really have the whole picture. Like it's like doing a puzzle without having the picture as the key.
Seriously, right?
I know, it's crazy. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you're teaching me patience. So, I am from California. I live in Minnesota. I've got two girls. They're 21 and 25, and I've got two bonus children as well. One's 25 and one will be 30 in August. They are Anna and Ella and Stephen and Alex, and my husband, John. We live in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And I can go into what I do with Kaleidoscope Teens and what led me there if you'd like me to.
I'd love to hear. And I do want to back up for just a second. When you said, the Lord is teaching you patience, I don't know if you did what I did and said, patience is challenging, I would say, for many people. And sometimes when we ask for something like, Lord, can you teach me patience? You get to have some training ground in that. So did you have some examples of being trained in patience?
I mean, yeah, it's like, hurry up, give me patience now. And I think people fail to realize sometimes that, like, in order to gain patience, you have to go through things that are going to test your patience, and some of it's really hard. Like, my children have had really a lot of difficulty with anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation. And luckily they had me as an engaged parent who has good insurance and can afford the co-pays, and I'm actively involved and I'm trying to find the solutions, and I'm praying to him, and I'm telling them to pray to him, and I'm, trying to find the right counselor or the right program or the right therapy. And I'm, like when someone wants to die, like there's no time, like you just feel like there's no time. Like I need the answer and I need it now. And I would tell my daughter, I'm praying for you. And she would say, well, I prayed too, but I feel like Like,
Mm.
he didn't listen. Like, why would he leave me in
Mm.
this space
Yeah.
if I prayed to him and asked him? So that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
I think children can't wrap their brain around that, much less adults, but
Mhm.
you pray for answers of why you are where you are, why your kids are going through what they're going through. Um,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
That I mean, that must be so challenging as a parent. And even, I've had situation with one of my children that, he had an accident and I was praying and, the miracle that we're looking for wasn't, the culmination. And, you can question like, well, why? Like, why didn't you answer my prayer? And I think that's one of the most challenging things in this walk at times is there's often an answer that we'll know later, but you can kind of look back on some of these times and see where his hand was on it. You just couldn't see it at the time when you were walking through the fire, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love, like, something that my mom told me too is, she said, when you are having a difficult time, like, I just, she put her hands together like she was cupping, and she said, I just envisioned you in Jesus's hands.
Oh,
And so I, like, it makes me about cry. But
yeah.
I loved that visual, and I love the faith and the love and the sentiment behind that. And so I'm like, okay, I get to borrow that
Yeah.
because that's wonderful, like, as a parent, because I think, when your kids are toddlers and it feels overwhelming sometimes, and then it's kind of like bigger kids and bigger problems, and then
Mhm.
they graduate from high school, and you think, oh yay, we kept them alive, and they're off to college, and it's all good, and but
Right.
they're like, no, I'm still calling my mom and talking to her about things that I need support with. So we get to be a parent and love and support and pray for our kids forever and ever,
Yeah.
and so just I will use that forever, like, just holding,
Mhm.
imagining my children being held by Jesus in his hands. And,
Yeah.
and I like the visual also of, like, Jesus, well, the footprints and Jesus walking down the beach with you. And sometimes he's just walking behind you and observing and making sure you're okay. And sometimes he
Mhm.
walks beside you, and
Yeah.
sometimes he's got to pick you up and carry you,
Yeah.
you
Like
know?
one like piggyback ride,
Yes, exactly.
right? I'm sure you've had some piggyback rides too, right?
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, tell us about a piggyback ride that you've taken in your journey. Ever hear something on this show that stirs something deep, like a nudge from God that there's more? That's stirring. It's not random. I'm Kristin Kurtz, host of Hope Unlocked and the founder of New Wings Coaching, and I'm inviting you into a 45-minute unlocking session, a sacred space to press in, hear what heaven is saying, and activate your next bold step. If you're a trailblazer or kingdom voice ready to break free from doubt and live fully alive, this is for you. Book now at newwingscoaching.net/hopeunlocked for special listener pricing. You were born to live uncaged and unapologetically bold. Now back to the show.
Um, well, a big one that just came to mind is just when I was in the relationship with the kid's father,
Mhm.
and I knew that it wasn't healthy or sustainable.
Mhm.
Um, I knew that, there should not be, physical and emotional abuse towards myself or towards my kids. But I
Mhm.
also knew that he would get to have a relationship with his children. And if he was triggered, like,
Mhm.
I wanted to be there when they were young so that I could get in between them and stand in the way and protect them.
Mhm.
And when I don't know, at some point, like, my daughter, when she was 9 years old, she would rock in fetal position and just say, I'm never going to be happy. And I don't want to be alive anymore. And it was so hopeless. And at 9 years old, it was devastating. And then she had said at one point too, if I kill myself, I want to kill you and my sister. And so I was like, "Whoa, we got to unpack that one." So we went to the counselor, and she said, "I just love you so much that when I leave, I want you to come with me." And so I knew, when you're thinking of getting yourself out of a bad situation, if you get into your logic mind about all the what ifs and all the what you need to do, it can be so overwhelming that the next logical steps you need to take, you can't physically do it because you're so overly consumed with what needs to happen and all the what ifs. So that was a time where I just, I had to jump, right? And literally God put me, I was in the gym. I was next to a woman on a treadmill. I started talking to her. I said, she started talking to me about how she was going to move and that her house was available. I said, okay, has he rented it yet? Nope. Where does he live? Can I get his number? And he happened to live in Australia, which is where my brother lives. So I thought that was a little angel nudge too, in a weird kind of, that was kind of random and, and literally just everything kind of fell into place within a matter of a couple days. And I got to just take a step in the dark, with full faith. All of my paycheck got taken, all of the savings got taken. I had the person who owned the home let us move in without a down payment, without me even paying rent. My friend showed up because all of my money had been taken by my ex. I couldn't afford gas in my car to get to my job. I had no food for groceries. And you think about it, when you literally have no money, I can't buy toilet paper anymore.
Right.
I
Just
can't
the
buy
bare
laundry.
literal necessities.
I can't wash our clothes because I can't go buy laundry detergent, and I literally didn't even take a bed for myself, so I have no bed, no money, no food, no gas. And I'm like, and I'm afraid. I was genuinely afraid of what could happen to us. And so that, I mean, that, that was definitely a time,
And
you
how
know,
many
when
years
I,
ago was that?
excuse me,
How many years ago was this?
oh, you're going to make me do math?
Yes.
No, my daughter's 25 and she was 9 at the time.
Okay,
So,
so 14.
yeah, 14 years ago. So, yeah, so my daughters were 6 years old and 9 years old at the time. So it was amazing just to see people show up in my life, my friends, and put gas in my tank, get food for us, get our necessities for us, and literally help carry us. And then that was the piggyback ride. I'm like, okay, Jesus, I'm
Yeah.
hopping on, let's go.
Yeah.
And and so I had my moments where I'm like, how am I going to do this? How are we going to survive? I didn't know any of the things, right? And so, I would be crying and kind of like, oh gosh, I don't know what's going to happen here. And I would get on my elliptical and I would pray and I would just go, 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 pray, pray, pray. And then by the time I was done, I was like, okay, I got this. I really don't know how I got this, but that's the beauty of faith, is that like, you don't get to get it. There's no crystal ball. You don't know how it's going to work out, but you get to believe that it's going to work out, that he is carrying you, and that it is all going to be okay. And we also don't get to define what okay is.
Ooh,
Our,
say that again.
yeah, we, I have been through a lot with a sexual assault when I was younger, alcoholic father, divorced parents, going through that with my own relationship and what it put my kids through and so on and so forth. But I mean, what I realized is that, and so I have total peace with it. And that's what I wish for people so much, is that even though I went through all those things and it was super hard in the moment, like it was all for a purpose, right? Like it was like I could not do the work I do with teens that are struggling, or with parents who have teens or kids that are struggling, if I hadn't been through it myself. It gives me this whole different level of empathy and wisdom and caring. And then I get to do, I always talk about my little direct downloads from the Lord. Like, I don't have the words, so I'm opening up the portal and you get to
Yes,
talk.
yes, yes,
It's
absolutely.
like, Q, you're on.
Great. And
So,
I have to go back for a second because 25 minus 9 is actually 16. So I had to fix my math
okay.
here.
Okay.
Just in case somebody's listening and they're like, she did a
Yeah.
calculus. Yes, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I had to fix that because we don't edit or audit this podcast. So I went back and we just rewinded a little bit.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
I love what you said about, had you not walked through this, you can't fully empathize or fully understand what people are walking through unless you've walked through it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you, like you mentioned, you work with teens and the parents of teens. So there was a moment that brought you into that realm of helping people in this way. So what what was that story? Like what is the testimonial behind that?
Well, I think it's all that, I went through with my daughters, and, kind of the trauma and the PTSD and all of the things that they experienced, kind of led into, anxiety and depression and some suicidal ideation. And they were super shy. They were super smart kids and super loving and super sweet and amazing friends and stuff. But they were terribly shy and they were carrying all this trauma in them. And what I realized, I think there's this time when they hit like middle school and high school, early high school, where all of that just kind of hits, and
Yeah.
it's a difficult, challenging time for kids. Their brains are not fully developed, and they're either dealing with social media, they're dealing with kids at school, and all.
Mhm.
We'll talk more later about all the things that kids are dealing with, but I just my daughter was feeling suicidal, and so I was trying to get her into a DBT program to teach her coping skills and to give her extra support. And with those programs, you can get together with your parents, and then the parent gets counseling, the kid gets counseling, and then you go together and learn like coping skills and stuff. So it's quite a good program, but they had a 10-month waiting period.
Wow.
And she was suicidal then. Like, I'm like, 10 months from
Yeah.
now, like, and then,
Yeah.
and then during the pandemic, I know every single hospital bed in the entire state of Minnesota was
Mm.
full with teens that wanted to die.
Oh.
It was unbelievable. So, and I have kids that were struggling, some that were alumni that were in college, and it was particularly hard also on kids that were new into college and completely isolated in their dorm rooms.
Mm.
And they had lines of chairs in the hallways of the
Oh.
hospitals, like, and kids had to wait up to 5 days
Oh my
to
gosh.
actually get a room. So they were lined up on folding chairs in the hallways so that they were protected and safe, and they were not in an environment where they could choose to hurt themselves. So
I can
all of
imagine.
those sorts of things, like my seeing the pain of my friends. And the interesting thing is too, is that it made me sad that, like, I didn't know that one of my very best friend's daughter was really struggling until I bumped into her
Mhm.
at Prairie Care, which
Mm.
is another resource that exists. And I thought, this is so sad that we as parents feel, I don't know if it's shame's
Like,
the right word,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we hold it close to our vest and we don't want anybody to know that we're struggling or our kids are struggling. We're putting on the mask and we're trying to look like everything's perfect. And in the meantime, we're breaking inside. And so it's not a good thing for our kids, because if we feel like we have to look perfect and can't admit that we have some
Mhm.
hurt and pain that we need to deal with and pray about and communicate about and get support on, if
Yeah.
we're not willing to do that, then our kids think that they have to put the mask on and pretend like everything's okay. In the meantime, they're imploding inside.
Mhm.
So I just thought, all these things, I'm like, gosh, if your kid's hurting, you're hurting, first of all. And
Yeah.
second of all, like, someone's got to help these kids. And it can't be like I had bad insurance when I did the DBT program, ultimately 10 months later with my daughter. And
Yeah.
I think it cost like $8,000. Like, it was crazy. So you look at like the disparity between who can afford to get the help and who
Mhm.
can't.
Right.
That's an issue. You look at when someone's hurting and like the wait time to actually get the help. So I was
Yeah.
like, someone's got to help these kids, and it's got to be like now. It's got to be free. It's got to be immediate,
Mhm.
like no wait list. Like,
Yeah.
I've found people on social media in the Eden Prairie Moms group that have kids that were struggling, and then they're struggling, and I mean 2 hours later they're in our Tuesday night program,
Mhm.
like meeting with friends and doing support group and learning coping skills and having fun and just having a break from like school and home and all the stresses that all those things can bring.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that was, I mean, it was just the need for my own kids to get support, and then seeing other kids that I knew in the community struggling,
Mhm.
and then looking at statistics too.
Mhm. Yeah. So can I go back a little bit? Were you working a job at this time
Um,
when things started
I
coming?
was, I mean, I was a single mom.
Mm.
So, I mean, I was a single mom with no child support,
Yeah.
doing it on my own. And then to make it even easier and more fun, it took 6.5 years to get divorce papers signed, even
Oh,
when I was crying and begging with the judge to get it done. And it was,
mm.
so that's a whole different thing. But yeah,
Wow.
so that was when I needed patience too.
Like
Be-
seriously, I mean, 10
Yeah,
months to get into the program, 6.5 years for the
divorce to be final.
to be final. Like you've definitely seen these situations that you've literally walked through that took honestly more time than it should, right?
Right. For sure.
And
Definitely.
so
And
then
I,
if you're getting this, like, hey, somebody needs to help these kids. Did you immediately think I need to help the kids, or was there a little bit of resistance for you to step into it? I'm just kind of curious on that because I know sometimes we look at things in this world and we think, gosh, somebody needs to help in this XYZ situation, and
mhm.
God will say, well, it's you.
Yeah.
But was that kind of your situation, or was there like what did that look like for you?
I mean, I think it was like, I mean, I was able to witness in other communities a framework of something that seemed to be helping kids. So I thought, okay, how about I take that framework
Mhm.
and then we create something in our community, because there was not anything in our community at the time.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I there's just a knowing, a peace,
Mhm.
I don't even know, like I just was all in. I just thought someone needs to help these kids and I'm going to do it. Like
Mhm.
I'm going to raise my hand. But that being said, like I also could not have done it to the level that I've done it if I hadn't met my husband, and he was my best friend from college's brother, who's 4 years older. And when I left California to go to
Mhm.
South Dakota for college, he was leaving South Dakota to go to get his master's at UCLA in California. So
Oh,
we
wow.
had not met until later in life, when we both were divorced. So, but we really aligned. I called it the voice for dating because we
Mhm.
just talked and talked and talked about specifically supporting his sister in a situation she was in, but
Mhm.
like I got to know his heart for the Lord, and I got to know his heart for his family, and I got to know, like, his commitment to health and wellness, and his desire to explore the world and other cultures and other lands and other people, and so we just so connected at that core. And then
Mhm.
if it hadn't started with that faith piece, it would not have even gone beyond that.
Yeah.
But and I didn't even know what he looked like. There, he wasn't really on social media, and he said,
Mhm.
"Well, come out to California. I live a half hour from your mom." Like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "Well, there's a safety net there. Like,
Right.
I'm close to
Mhm.
mom, it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
good." So I'm like, Julie, I go, "How tall is this guy?" I go, "Can I bring my heels?" Like, he
yeah.
goes, "What if I was like 5'2"? I go, "I don't know." I'm not just kidding. I wasn't sure. No, just
I mean, you
kidding.
gotta
But
know these things, right?
yeah, exactly. I'm like, "Can I bring my heels?" So I'm like, luckily 6'1" or 2 or something like that. But anyways, I get talking on all my stories, and then I lose track of what the question even is. I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay. Well, I think, like, so you went out there.
Oh,
You
so
went
I
out
went
to
out there, met
California.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went out to California and I met him. So I guess the point of that whole, like, meeting my husband
Mhm.
and him being so committed to the Lord and committed to serving, when I went to him and said, "I would like to do this thing. Like,
Mhm.
my kids need it. You now are having experience with that you didn't previously have. You're seeing the need that's out there."
Mhm.
And so we're a partnership in this. And I tell him, I joke around and I say he's earned his wings,
Aw.
um, because he's the force backing my ability to do this, because I was able and supported by him to leave my full-time six-figure job to
Mhm.
do this work. And this fall, I will start my ninth year of doing this work.
Wow.
So I'm forever eternally grateful because, the Lord through us, like, we are the vessel. So I won't say we've saved lives. The Lord has saved lives through us,
Mhm.
being able to work with families and with parents and with teens. Because again, if the teens are hurting or the kids are hurting, the
Mhm.
parents are struggling too, because you love your kids. I mean, those
Mhm.
of us who have kids know what the love is like for your kids. There's a love like no other. So,
Yeah.
and then there's this helplessness too, like when you feel like, oh, they're struggling and I don't know what to do, you
Mhm.
know, so I'm very grateful for his support and our ability to start this thing and to see what it can evolve into. And now, like, I hold it very loosely
Mhm.
because I want the Lord to be in charge. And there are a lot of different things that we do to help people, and there's a lot of ways that this can grow and expand and reach more people. Um, and I don't know, I'm waiting for that puzzle piece, I guess. I'm like, I just keep doing what I'm doing. And I think you and I have talked about this too, that a lot of times, like, we just get to show up. Like, and when I show up and I'm like, okay, Lord, here I am.
Mhm.
What's next?
Yeah.
Or like, okay, you had me go to this meeting. Like, who am I
Yep.
going to be sitting by? Oh,
Mhm.
it's the principal of the arts high school that I've been wanting to meet.
Mhm.
Wow. Like, I
Yeah.
can't make that up.
Yeah. It's incredible.
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Well, I love how you, like, just even with your husband too, I was just reminded of the song Wind Beneath My Wings. It's just like that current to have somebody in your life who truly supports you. Not everybody has that. So I guess I would say, to those who are listening who have been given this send from the Lord, who maybe don't have somebody in their corner who's supporting them, like, what would you say to them?
I would say that um you get to create that. I would say the Lord is always there being the wind beneath your wings. And so leaning into your faith, leaning into the word,
Mhm.
but then also finding community. Like you have been led to create community through your New Wings coaching and bring people together through the podcast. There are so many people out in the world who will lift you up and help you, fulfill the purpose that God's put in your life. But, you have to have the strength to look beyond. Like it's kind of like when people say you can choose your family, you get the family you get, but you
Mhm.
get to choose who gets to be your family or who you create a family with. And you have to, I like I use the microphone analogy a lot. I talk about how you, especially with the teens, and even the parents, but who are you going to turn the mic up on and who are you going to mute the mic? So
Mhm.
you get to be in control. Like if someone's not speaking life and love and possibility
Mhm.
into your life, you get to mute that mic. Like you don't have to listen to that person. Like you get to choose to turn their mic down or mute their mic. And
Mhm.
the people that are speaking that into your life that are lifting you up to use all the gifts that you have because, I see over and over again, like we are all uniquely and wonderfully made. And I have to tell these kids because you go into these school and these high performing communities and
Mhm.
this is the way the world tells you life is supposed to go,
Oh, it's the
you
worst.
work, yeah, work hard, you get the good grades, you get in the sports, you're on the da da
Mhm.
da da da. And the DECA kids or the high performing kids are like, listen, we're struggling too, but we're not allowed to
Mhm.
show the struggle. Like we have to put the mask on while we're crumbling inside because one AP class isn't enough and 4.0 isn't good enough and being on the football team isn't good enough. You have to be a starter or a star and like
Yeah.
this college isn't good enough. And like they're always struggling with that like the world and their parents and everybody are telling them that's not enough. You're not enough. Or like trying to shove the square peg in the round hole. Like,
Mhm.
you should go get the good grades, do the classes, go to college, get the good job, save your money, get your, like so
Yeah.
that you can retire. And Francis Chan has an amazing, everybody Google it. I love his video, his
Yeah.
rope analogy with the red end. And he's
Oh,
like, the white part of like miles of rope is eternity, and the little part on the end is red, and that's your life on earth.
yes.
And then you take like, okay, like you're supposed to work hard, make all these choices so that at the
Mhm.
very end you can have, you can just self-indulge and have fun with yourself and your life. And
Yeah.
so he said that people look at him when he makes decisions and thinks he's crazy because he's making decisions based on eternity while the
Mhm.
world is making decisions based on that 1 inch piece of red, which what do we get to do when we retire? Or how
Right.
much money are we going to save or have for our kids?
Mhm.
So it's
Yes.
just,
I love that. I think when we first talked, the first time, definitely a very key like alignment with me as well, where it's so like we need to flip the system here.
yeah,
Wouldn't you say?
100%.
Like, and I
And
see
I,
it not only with kids, but even, women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're like, wait a second, I can actually be who God created me to be.
exactly.
So you're
And
like flipping them before they like go that far.
yeah. And what's so interesting is that part of like the work that I've done in my life, like I've worked with him for her prison ministries with the Shakopee Women's Prison and getting mentorship into their lives, like a team approach to mentorship and the difference that that can make a lot in the lives of those women. And we lost a friend, Steve Rumler, to opioid addiction. So there's the Steve Rumler Hope Network. And so we got a law passed in the state of Minnesota, the Don't Run, Call 911
Mhm.
law. It's like Steve's law. So basically, if you're with someone that's overdosing,
Mhm.
you can call for help so that they can stay alive. Because what was happening is if people were doing drugs together and someone started overdosing, the other
Mhm.
person would run because they were afraid of getting arrested and leave the other person to die. So now there's a law where they can actually get, like the other person won't be held liable for
Oh,
whatever drugs they were doing if they call for help to save the person's life. And then they do a ton of distribution of Narcan. And then
oh,
I worked with trafficking justice. So I've done all this work. That was when I was trying to put my puzzle pieces down and I'm like, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be working on?
mhm.
And my daughter, my oldest daughter, said to me, Mom, don't you get it? Like, you got to help the kids. Like, why are you waiting until they've been trafficked and then they're doing drugs and then they get in the system, in the prison system, and then they come out and they have nowhere else to go but to the person that was selling them the drugs and who then
Right.
traffics them and they get in this whole thing and she's like, you got to help the kids, like help
Um,
them before they get to
uh,
those situations. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank
mhm.
you, Lord, for like the wisdom of babes, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And I mean, it's so true because, and just the fact that she kind of full circle was able to infuse that wisdom into you and just give you that puzzle piece that you were looking for, and yet it was through your own daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. And now I mean, this is the other thing that I love is that and we were in our community, the Eden Prairie Community Foundation does a quarterly luncheon for nonprofit leaders. And so we were talking about volunteerism and like how do you get people to volunteer and stay committed and stay motivated and not get burned out and all that kind of stuff. And I got to tell how right now, like initially we had just this core set of volunteers that volunteered for 6 years. Like that is unheard of, like in the land of nonprofits and volunteers, to have volunteers stick around for that long. And
Mhm.
now, like the first class of kids that I had that were seniors in high school when I started the program have now graduated from college. And
Mhm.
now they have all, I would say 80% of my volunteers are alumni,
Oh my gosh.
have gone away, graduated from college, come back, and now they're mentoring other young people. They're helping spread the word to businesses and to other individuals about what we're doing. One of them's a social worker, so she's on my advisory board, and I call her. Like, oh, what do I do about this situation? And so they come and they volunteer and they work with the kids. So I think that's a testament to the value
Yeah.
that they felt in the program, and then their heart is to give back too. And one of the kids, like Elvis, his name is Elvis, and he was from Kenya. Or
Mhm.
he is from Kenya, and he literally just 2 weeks ago got his U.S. citizenship. So I'm so excited for him for that. But he went to the University of Minnesota and was in the business school, and he's worked for a ministry. Like he did ministry on the campus of the U of M. And
Oh,
he got recognized at the U of M. They give 2 awards per class for students that made a difference in their community. And he got one of those awards
my
and
gosh.
invited me to come. He had a couple people he could invite, invited me to come with him while he
Mm.
got that award from the president of the U of M.
Oh,
So it's so neat to watch them then get a heart for ministry or a heart for making a difference in young people and then go out in the world and go do that.
wow. I mean, just the impact, I like to say, like, we have a choice, right? In what we're doing, and so much of what we do, and especially the work that you're doing, like has generational legacy. Like it has generational impact, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
absolutely does. And I mean, not only is the program and what the Lord's doing through it saving the lives of kids who did not want to be here. Like for my daughter, when she got into this program, her graduating from high school was not an expected outcome, more because of her mental health, and her being alive to graduate from high school was not an expected outcome. And so some of the kids come to our program, in that same, way of being. And so, you know, the mere fact that they're alive. But then it's so amazing to me. We worked with kids from 18 different countries.
oh my God.
So the cultural impact and when we, at the time when George Floyd was murdered, we had kids from 13 different countries in our group. And so we started a program called Love Your Neighbor. And I asked them, I said, would you please get up in front of the room? And I gave them a little PowerPoint template, outline for them to use to just talk about their culture, because I believe fear breeds hate, and
Mhm.
hate breeds violence. And it's, you know, so it's like, oh, no, sorry, I skipped one. Sorry. Ignorance breeds fear. Fear breeds hate, and hate breeds violence. I knew there was four, but it
Yeah.
starts with ignorance. So when we don't know about each other and what our ways of being and what our cultural values are and what our, all the different things that create who we are in the background, the lens that we look through life at, it's, then that can breed fear and animosity and stuff. So giving all these kids the opportunity to share about their culture and
Mhm.
family values and their faith and all that, and then also having them, then getting raw and real about it and talking about how does it feel to be you here?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
how does it feel? Like, what's your experience in the world here? And
Mhm.
so, because there's stuff that people do to hurt each other that they don't intend to.
Right.
And the new language for that is like microaggressions.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just ignorance. Like, I don't know that touching your, one thing, like one thing I use as an example is that, if a girl has really pretty braids, kind
Mhm.
of like when someone comes up to a pregnant woman and they want to
Yeah.
and
Touch
they
the
want to
belly.
touch her stomach,
Like,
and they're like, some people are down with it, and some people are like, I
yeah.
don't even know who you are. Like, why are you
Right.
touching me?
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
it's like kind of a boundary. And so if you touch a girl who has pretty braid, like if you go, oh, those are really pretty braids, sometimes your instinct is like people want to touch the braids. And that is offensive,
Yeah.
but there's things that if you don't know, you don't know
Right.
and
Exactly.
stuff. And then there's also very direct,
Mhm.
hateful, hurtful things that go on. So, I mean, it just, you
It's a
know, Jesus did not hang out with the Jews and the Pharisees. Jesus hung out with
ragamuffin.
all. What's that?
He liked the ragamuffins.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Different races and cultures, and you
Everywhere.
know, those that others would not hang around and stuff. So,
Mhm.
anyway, so it's been so fun to
It's amazing.
just yeah. I love
So,
that program, the Love Your Neighbor. And then I counted, that we have 18 cultures now, or 18 countries that we've served. It's just amazing to me.
yeah, I mean, I have a question to go back a little bit, but I'm guessing that somebody's wondering, like, what is the name of her nonprofit?
I know, we haven't even done that. Okay, it's
No,
Kaleidoscope Teens. I'm so sorry. Yes,
no, it's okay because
Kaleidoscope.
you really
Yeah.
led into this, and I can just imagine somebody's on the edge of their seat, like, what is the name of it? And I would love for you to share, like, what is the meaning behind the name and how did you come up with it?
The name actually, one of the parents of one of the kids that we were serving came up with the name Kaleidoscope. And I thought of it, and the way I thought of it is like, okay, like I look at it, like I stick all my little fingers out, and a kaleidoscope has, well, part of it is kaleidoscope has a bunch of broken pieces that together makes a beautiful picture, right? And we all have a bunch of broken pieces, but we are all beautiful, and what we have to offer the world is amazing, right? So I have the three different little circles, like, so I stick all my fingers together and I intertwine them, and that's all the little broken pieces. And so I say a community is created of all these different pieces, and it's a beautiful thing together when all the pieces are present. Like, we have different socioeconomic levels, we have different education levels, we have different cultures, we have, so it's like there is so much diversity in our communities. So I kind of feel like, you know if we're working together in love and in unity, it creates a beautiful picture, right? And then you go to a family unit is the next one, and the right hand is the parents and the left hand's the kids. And that family unit is created by, kind of the lens that the parents are looking through, how they were raised, what they were, what their culture is, what their socioeconomic level is, how they were parented, how they think kids should be parented, whether they have faith or not, and what that faith is. And then the kids bring to the table what they bring to the table. But half of what's going on, like, kids have um, they have limited power, in the situation, because they're kids, and so they didn't choose what family they were born into. They didn't choose the color of their skin. They didn't choose the socioeconomic level. So I mean, there's all those different pieces that create the family unit. And then the kids themselves, like when they're young, I mean, there's things that impact their lives and who they are, and some of them they have control over and some of them they don't.
Right.
So there's all those components that create who they are and who they're being and how life is going for them, you know
I
so that
love,
was.
I love what you're doing. And I know you mentioned you have like mentors that help out. Like, how many people have come alongside you? Because I know, like, you can't carry this alone, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've got mentors at my church. I have, specifically, I think it's so cute because George is one of my mentors, and George was in a networking group with me, and he is from the East Coast, so like he's very typical East
Yeah,
Coast, right? And I'm
yeah,
from California, so I
yeah.
love straight shooting East
Me
Coast
too.
people,
Yep,
right? Like, just call it like see it like it is, and
exactly.
whatever.
Yes,
He came
we're
up.
an anomaly here in Minnesota, aren't we?
I know. I know. It's like, yeah, I'm a more occult, like I see it, whatever. That's not necessarily normal here, but he came up to me and he's like, listen, I always say when I talk like him, listen, he's like, God doesn't talk to me that much, but
Mhm.
he told me I'm supposed to help you.
Oh,
You know,
I love that.
so I better listen, because he doesn't talk to me that often, but so I just thought that was kind of a cute story of, like, you know, people,
Mhm.
I mean, some people just want to help in general. Some people have kids that have had difficulty. Some people that have come alongside are parents of kids that have benefited from the program. And like I said, some of are like the kids themselves that
Yeah,
have gone through the program, graduated, and then come around to come back and support kids.
yeah, I love that. Well, I know you said you have a really special event that's coming up, and this actually is going to be launching prior to that. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about kind of the heart behind what you're doing and what's coming up.
Yeah, I'll share about that and then I'll go into more about like what we do as an organization after that as well. But part of like my holding things loosely and being nimble as this is the nonprofit that I've created is being open to the opportunities that the Lord presents. And so, and then like really having no fear and asking for things. And we were part of a grant program and we got some different experiences in the arts, doing pottery, making glass beads, doing mosaic art. And then we got to record a song. With a producer, and this is a producer who's produced everyone from Phil Collins to Lizzo, and he has done movie scores and music for video games, and so he's worked with a lot of people, and he is amazing with the teens, and we enjoyed that experience so much. And I had so many kids that were musical in our group. They could beatbox, sing, rap. I had violinists, bass guitarists, all sorts of things. And so I said, hey, would you ever want it? And I like, take that, steal that, everybody. Like, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask ever
Say
for
it again.
anything.
Say it again. Say what
Would you ever want it? I'm like, hey, would you ever want it? Like, that's what I say. I'm like, hey, would you ever want to like record an album with us? And almost always I get yes, like almost always, So he's like, yeah, sure, and I'm like, oh, let's go. But I mean, that's not an expected thing. That's not like a, hey, that's what we do is we make albums in this program. But
Right.
but I'm always looking for ways because all of these kids don't have traditional giftings. And so my goal is to like let them see that they are created on purpose that way with their giftings, and that there is a place in the world for them to trust that the Lord made no mistakes and that their gifts are there on purpose and that they get to find a way to use them, And um so, so when we got this opportunity, and then I'd always take someone coming alongside. So the Bernard Group is a printer here in Eden Prairie, and they came alongside and provided some funding for us so that we could pay. And Bionic is the name. So it's Stefan Bionic. He goes by Bionic Taylor as the producer. And so we were able to pay him to do this album. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. Like we have seventh grade girls on violins. We had an eighth grade boy on a bass guitar and another boy on a guitar. And like, all of these kids are singing. They wrote every single word of every single song. And, and and one of my alumni who is doing music right now as well, she's going to perform at People Fest. So sometimes I take a while to get to the point. Sorry about that,
Oh,
but
I love
we're
it.
gonna
Like
perform.
I'm on the edge of my seat. It's so good. Like this is so good, Tammy. Seriously.
So we get to work with this famous producer and produce this music, and it's the confidence that it's giving these kids is so amazing. And so we get to perform. I've been for 7 years on this People Fest committee, and we do this community-wide event called People Fest, and we have the People Fest party that kicks off the event. That is happening on July 27th from 4 to 8 p.m. in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And it's at a lake. I mean, we're the land of 10,000 lakes, right? So, of course, it's at a lake. And they have an amphitheater, and there's going to be food trucks and booths. So, we'll have a booth there talking about what we do for teens and parents. And then they have a stage. And throughout the day from 4 to 8, we have groups from different groups from different cultures doing different dance and music and sorts of things. So we kick off the event at 4 o'clock. So from 4 to 4:20, we will do 4 of our songs, and then May, who goes musically by May Doll, and she has a album that's it's faith-based songs. You can find it on Spotify. I just again like I'll get on a diverted thing here with her too, but um, she is an alumni, and so she's going to perform some of her songs. And
Okay.
she has got one song, oh my gosh, like you just got to look her up, Me Versus
Yeah.
Me, the EP on Spotify. I
Okay.
mean, she has got some just faith-based, like you want to kick your morning off, right? Like you can just plug these songs in and they will amp you up for the Lord and for life, and it's just so I am so proud of her. So she will be there performing as well. And yeah, I'm just super excited for the opportunity. So then we'll make our album available on Bandcamp. So if you look up, we named the album Kaleidoscope for the same reasons our name is Kaleidoscope. And it's on Bandcamp. So you can go into Bandcamp, look up Kaleidoscope, and that will be live as of July 27th, and you can download the songs. And if you want to make a donation to support the work that we're doing, please do so. It's life transforming and life saving work that the Lord is doing through our group. So,
Wow.
yeah, we're just super excited about that opportunity. And May is a student too. She was, in one of my first couple years, and I'm just proud of her. Like she ended up, she has not had an easy past. She ended up getting pregnant when she was 16. Her father kicked her out of the house. So
Mhm.
through a church organization that helps find housing for teenagers, we were able to place her with a family. And then we were able to place her in a school in Chaska that I think it's Beyond New Beginnings, but maybe I shouldn't say because I'm not 100% sure if that's right. But it's a school in Chaska that allows young moms to go to high school and complete high school and bring their babies with them. And the first hour of school is teaching the kid, like the mom with the kid, with the baby, teaching the mom how to be a good parent. And
Yeah.
it's such an amazing resource because it is my opinion that like of all of the alumni that I've had and students that I've had that have gotten pregnant unexpectedly, every single one of them has had the baby, but they
Wow.
need someone like our organization or their church family or others because often their own family won't step up and help them. Like we can't expect them to have these babies successfully and love and nurture them and provide for them without supporting them.
Yeah.
So if we actually show up in love and not in judgment and provide help to people that find themselves in a situation unexpectedly, then the right choice always gets made.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
need that safety net, like
Mhm.
the old, what would Jesus do,
Right. Right.
and so she was graduated from high school, and like her son is like going to be in first grade now. I can't even believe it.
Wow.
That's
Well,
crazy.
I mean, I'm sure you have like so many examples of these kids that have come through with you, and I can only imagine how like in awe of God you are
Oh, totally.
just through like your like bold, I need to help these kids.
Yeah.
And also the bold, uh, would you ever wanna?
Yeah, would you ever wanna? Hey, like, so my next would you ever wanna is would you ever wanna help me write a book with the kids? So we have a grant, we got some grant funding, and um I have somebody kind of in the background helping us that I know that's kind of a coach and helps people write books. But
Mhm.
because always in the back of my mind, number one, I want to have them have real world examples of using their gifts and seeing that there's value in the world for their gifts. Number two, there's value in who they are and what their story is. They get to tell their story if they so choose to tell their story. And I'm also constantly building resumes. Like we give like the kids get given to and loved and supported, so they get to pass it forward or pay it forward. And so we're trying always to look for different ways. So if anybody has any volunteer opportunities, let me know. But we're always trying to find volunteer opportunities for the teens, so that they can give back as well. But I will skip. Let me get to the basics, because I got more stories than you can imagine, and I'll tell more stories. But essentially, we're Kaleidoscope Teens, and we serve teens ages 11 to 19. So that's in our area. That can typically be a middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and then high school, 9th through 12th grade. And then we also, because we have so many alumni, and what we found is that just because you turn 18 and you graduate from high school doesn't mean you stop needing community or that you stop needing support for mental health. You still need to learn coping skills, and then the life skills that we teach are even more relevant, because you're actually having to buy a car, rent an apartment, get insurance, and do all those sorts of things that we teach. And then we work with the parents of teens, because I've been there, done that. I know what it's like to have struggling teens. And so, the woman that I talked about, that I messaged back to her on Facebook, a Facebook group, and her daughter was at her house 2 hours later participating in our program, and she gave me a big hug, and she goes, "This is the first time I haven't felt alone in longer than I can remember," because she, like me, was a single mom who left an abusive situation, who was trying to parent her daughter who was struggling. So it was like looking in a mirror. It was me from, 10 years ago, right? So that's what they often say, is if you choose to help and you do coaching or helping of others, you're often helping those who were you,
Exactly.
years back. And kind of the why of why we do it, my own personal why, but the mental health statistics right now, 26.9% of teenagers ages 12 to 17 have mental, emotional, and behavioral problems. 42% of high school students reported feeling persistently sad and hopeless. Suicide rates, 700,000. These are statistics from 2021. So, you know, this is from the CDC. So there will be more, I'm sure there's more recent statistics as well. And suicide continues to go up, at 700,000 die by suicide every year. So basically, in a video, I do a suicide prevention event that's 5 days long in September, every September, which is Suicide Awareness Month. And one of the videos that I have included in that, it said there's think of it as when you brush your teeth, there's one death every 45 seconds. So while you're brushing your teeth, 3 people die by suicide. And it's the second leading cause of death among teens and young adults ages 10 to 34. 22% seriously have considered suicide, and 10% of teenagers have attempted suicide. So I don't know. It just and then I did some surveying at our high49% and 72.5% of teenagers say they have anxiety. 49% say they have depression. 30% say they have suicidal ideation, and only 10% of those who think about suicide would actually tell someone. So if you take all the teenagers, they're one out of, 30% of them are having these thoughts, and only, 1 out of every 10 would tell a parent or somebody else that they're having those thoughts. That's scary to me.
So scary.
It's very scary, because you can't help them if you don't know what's going on in their head, right? And then 53.7% have, the word now is like it's body image, it's body dysmorphia, like kind of issues with their body image. 23.5% have eating disorder, 24% ADHD, 17% say they're struggling with addiction already. 18% say that they've been sexually assaulted, and 25% say they're actively being bullied in their
Mm.
life. So our kids, whether you know it or not, are struggling, and some are silently imploding and some it's coming out sideways, whether it's not going to school, staying locked in their rooms, talking, just bad behavior, bad choices, and stuff like that. But they have a lot on their plate right now, and I cannot imagine,
Mm.
what it would be like to be a teen with social media and all the
Right.
things that are impacting. I tell that, I kind of joke. I'm like, if I wanted to know what was going on in the world,
Mhm.
when I was their age, I would literally have to get myself up off the Davenport, the couch, and I'd have to walk myself through the shag carpet and
Yeah.
turn the channel on the TV at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 10
Yep.
o'clock to
Yeah.
watch the news.
Right.
Or I would have to look at the newspaper that might have the top 5 stories of things going on
Exactly.
more locally or globally or whatever. You wouldn't even not know that much about what's going on globally. So even my own mental health, I've recognized, has suffered if
Mhm.
I get on my phone and I'm scrolling and I'm bombarded by
Yes.
all the negative messaging about what's going on in this world. And it's, it's, it's terrifying. And their prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed. I
Right.
mean, and you can, and I don't know.
I hear you, girl.
It just,
I thought about that too. I'm like, I cannot even imagine like being a teenager, growing up in the way I grew up as well, and having the bombardment of what we see coming through the phone, through just too many sources. There's too much, there's
mhm.
confusion, there's an identity crisis. I mean, there's just so much going on in this world that if you don't have safe people to process with, share your feelings with, I can't even imagine. So I'm so thankful for what you're doing. I wanted to ask you, for those who live locally, now they have a plug-in with you. Um, let's just say, I mean, we've got people from all over the world tuning in here, um, maybe starting in the US and then going out. Is there like a database or a website that somebody could go to that you trust that they could plug into? Let's just say they live in New York or they're, in Florida or California. Is there somewhere that they can go to that they could get plugged into that might be kind of similar to what you do?
Well, one thing that we learned, I mean, I think there are good and bad things that came out of the pandemic,
Mhm.
but one thing we learned from the pandemic is that we can make a tremendous difference in the lives of kids and in parents remotely, like you do coaching, and you're not just doing coaching with people that live in Bloomington, Minnesota in person, face to face.
Exactly.
So we also do support group, and I have summits, I do webinars,
Okay.
and we're kicking off our parents group as well in the fall. So, I mean, just go to the website or email me or call me or
Okay.
text me. And
Oh,
our website is kaleidoscopeteens.org.
okay.
And that's I don't know. Sometimes I wonder I should have picked an easier thing to spell. But it's,
Can you spell it
yeah,
out?
it's Kaleidoscope. So Kaleed and then teens, and it's plural, so TEENS, so kaleidoscopeteens.org.
Okay.
And then my email, like my name, it's T for Tammy Ryder-Harms, so RYDERHARMS, so T Ryder-Harms at kaleidoscopeteens.org. And then I'm okay. I'm down if you call me or text me, whatever, 952-500-9723. You can, I mean, what I found is you can Google my name, and a lot of the articles that are in newspapers and stuff that have been written about what we do will pop up. And then check out our website. But like our mission, um, and again, I should have started with this, but our mission is to be the uniting force in communities, empowering parents and caregivers and schools and community partners all working together and supporting teens to develop coping and life skills paired with a career and or college pathway that allows them to thrive in today's world and successfully launch into their futures. So I don't know. My short one is we save and transform the lives of teens. That's
That's
much easier
beautiful.
to
Oh my God.
grasp.
I mean,
But,
seriously.
and we operate off of like the pillars of wellness and faith being a core component of that as well. So I divide what we do into 3 different categories. One is support. And we do support groups. So we teach kids how to identify their emotions, how to rate their week, and then we have them share their highs and lows with each other and give them the opportunity to talk about, like, celebrate what went well, because our brains are prehistoric. They're wired to keep us safe, and they hardwire negative memories way quicker than they do positive memories. And so it's really, really easy and almost celebrated in this world in a weird way to focus on the negative, but teaching kids how to okay, like we were talking about our gratitude, Kristin, you and I, like, like having a gratitude journal or something, just trying to wire their neural pathways to think in terms of what am I grateful for? Like my week might be a 2 out of a 10, but I got to sit there and come up with something I'm grateful for and something that was a highlight of my week. And then they can talk about, what a challenge is. So those support groups are amazing. And I think if some of those skills, like if every kid was taught those skills and brought those qualities and those skills and teaching them how to support one another, not to give advice to each other, but how to empathize and support one another, that our workplaces would be transformed. Like the world would be transformed, I think. And then we do one-to-one mentoring, and then we help people get access to resources like food and housing and scholarships. We've been able to get free bikes and free computers and all sorts of things. So I tell people, do not tell me you need something unless you expect to get it, because I'm going to figure out how to get it for you.
Yes, I love that. We need so many more people like you in this world. Seriously, right? A resource,
And
right?
yeah. And then the education piece of what we do is that, like, I don't think people should have to wait 10 months
Mm-mm.
and pay $8,000 or even less in copays or whatever to get coping skills training. We are so busy like loading expectations and stress onto our young people, but we don't teach them how to cope with it. We don't fill their toolbox with ways to manage you got to manage your mind. I talk about that all the time. Manage your mind, but we don't teach kids how to manage their minds and how to, just have different sorts of coping skills for different situations. So we teach coping skills, and then we teach life skills, and we come together we partner with local businesses. So if you're a local business and you want to partner with me, like we teach kids about life skills. So we partnered with Nissan. How do you buy a car? How do you do basic car maintenance? We partnered with a local bank and talked about what's your credit score, what is basic financial literacy. We've had a financial manager come in and teach them about investing their money. We've had someone come in and talk about how do you get insurance? Like now you're a young adult and you're renting and you've got to get and like renter's insurance. Like most people, kids don't even know they need that, right? And then there's this whole TikTok thing going on right now where like kids are being spoken into. This is where mute that mic, mute the mic, mute the mic, mute the mic. They're being told they will never be able to afford to buy a house. They will never be able to afford this or afford that or do this or do that. Like, you know what, whatever they decide about their life, like was it Ford who said, like, whether you say you can do it or you can't, you're going to be right.
Right. Yeah.
So if they believe that they'll never be able to do it, then they won't ever do it. And this is where you come into transforming generational transformation is if we transform their minds into trusting and believing that they can own their own home if they want to. They can go to college if they want to. But you also have to take responsibility. And here, like sometimes the difference between those that have and those don't is access to information. Like if you don't have someone who's an example showing you how to do it, how are you supposed to know that if it's even possible and how to do it? So partnering with businesses like, with mortgage lenders and realtors to help kind of set them up financially, kind of think some Dave Ramsey kind of stuff too. Like I did a little lesson for the kids. I called it leggings and lattes. Like if you keep buying those Lululemon leggings and those, $8 lattes, like add up all that money and what would you have had? Like, because if you contribute, I think it was like $200 a month from age 19, I think it's now I'm going to forget. So don't quote me on this exactly, but 19 to 30 or something like that. Like, and then you stopped contributing. Like you never save any more money. Like you're going to have over $2 million when you comes time to retire. But if you start when you're 30 and you go 35 years from 30 to 65 and you put that same $200 away, you're going to have like under $1 million. Like you're going to have at least that's the compounding interest conversation. So trying to get kids to understand, like automatically deposit a piece of your paycheck, always, 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 that you do not spend, starting from your very first job, and then we can talk about how do you invest it and how do you save it or what can you do with it. But they can totally be a millionaire if they want to, but they have to have the right mindset. They have to have the education and the tools and know how to do it, but it's so fun to see the light bulbs go off and go, oh, like TikTok's not true,
Right. Turn down the mic. I love that. I love, love, love that. That is such an easy one to remember. You have so many mic drops, girl.
Yeah, and then we help them get so part of so you think about a young person, like you have kids that are like gonna get out of high school or left to go to college, like they're super anxious, and part of it is like people act like they're supposed to know what they want to do for the rest of their life, and that's a total joke because there's no way. AI is going to eliminate more than half the jobs that exist, and by the time they're our age, there'll be 50% or more new jobs. So you can't possibly know that. So putting that pressure on them is so unfair and not correct. But they don't know what's next. So we have a college and career counselor that donates their $200 an hour time to meet via Zoom. So anybody anywhere in the world or anywhere in the US, can meet with this person and get that free counseling. And she said, I love this about her. She said, I am more worried about the 25-year-old you than I am the 19-year-old you, because you may think it'd be cool, like this is a prestigious school, or this is a fun school, whatever, but like if you get yourself so far in debt that you're living in your parents' basement after college and you can't afford a car or an
Right.
apartment,
Right.
like that's not a very good decision, so she helps guide the decision. She helps them with the applications, with the FAFSAs. We help them get scholarships. And then now, then I help them with internships, and then we help with all of our business connections to help get them jobs. And we also help the teenagers get jobs, help them do their resumes, help them with interview skills. And, it's just so sweet. Like, and I go in and I advocate for them. Like one kid, he applied, and I called them up and I said, "Well, I would like to understand why you have not called this person for an interview, because here's the 10 reasons why I think they would be an amazing employee." And they said, "Okay, we'll have them come in tomorrow for an interview." And I said, "Okay." And he didn't have to wait. Like, I mean, transportation, like it doesn't compute in my brain, but it's like we're an affluent community. But when we surveyed our community, what's the number one challenge in our community? It's transportation. So that's something that in our world, like we don't often realize that our neighbors are struggling to feed their kids. They are lacking transportation. Like, so I know, like, one of our local churches, it's here, near and far, and there's a lot of money going overseas to help people, but like we need to open our eyes to our neighbors. Like my program, we've got to love our neighbor. Love your neighbor, love your neighbor, love your neighbor. Wake up. And I know it's really hard because sometimes we want to stay in our happy little bubble. And I've got a lot of people I know like that. They're like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know it exists. I just kind of want to stay in my happy bubble. But like, we're not called to do that. Like life, we're called to like open our eyes and care, and we're not called to hoard our gifts, our financial gifts, and and so forth. Like we're called to share and to give and lift up others and do what Jesus would do. So, so just helping them with coping skills and helping them, like if they know if they're told how to pay their taxes, or that they can buy a house, or that they can buy a car, here's how you rent an apartment, then you've alleviated some anxiety for them. If you help them define what their next logical step is, whether it's a trade school or a college or different sorts of things, or even a career or an apprenticeship, some of those things are so good. Like, because we've got to stop shoving the square pegs in the wrong holes. Every kid is not meant to sit in a cubicle in
Say
an
that one
office.
again.
Yeah, every kid is not meant to go to college, sit in a cubicle, and work on a computer all day, every day. Like, and, they all are so wired so differently. And so the trades, oh my goodness, there is so much. Like if you have a kid that can't sit down, like, I mean, I would rather die than go sit in a cubicle by myself. Like, and sit.
That's what I thought I had to do.
Oh,
I
and
escaped. Thank God. Yeah.
yeah, I'm so glad you did, because what you're doing is so important. But like, I mean, and some people are shy, and they're really good with numbers, and
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah.
one of our
It's
kids
for
is
some.
like
Yeah.
a National Honor Society. Like he's one of the top 1% in the nation of how smart he is. But he's like just a little socially awkward. So I don't know I'm like, I'm not going to diagnose or unpack what's going on there, but like our group is the only thing that he did all through middle school and high school with other kids. Like, and our other kids aren't all necessarily as smart as him. For sure they are not. And they all have different giftings and stuff, but like it's so cool to see these totally dramatically different kids, and they would make him laugh, like, and he would belly laugh because the kids are so silly and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the other things that we do too, we do, and listen, go to our website.
Yeah.
kaleidoscopeteens.org, because um, I'm not very good at getting to the point, but we do a lot
You're
of
doing amazing.
excursions and activities with the kids and stuff. So one is the doing the album or writing a book, but we also work with Tickets for Kids. So huge shout out to Tickets for Kids. It's an organization that nonprofits that serve kids can work with, and they get donations from like the Timberwolves and from the Twins, and or from individual ticket holders. They get donations of tickets that are going to go unused, and then kids that are in the community that wouldn't otherwise have these experiences get to go do those sorts of things. So we get to go to the Vikings and the Twins, and we get to go to the Ordway Theater and see the Nutcracker Ballet, and go to concerts and all sorts of super cool fun stuff. We help them get internships and jobs. I talked about that. So our collective like impact is we've fed now close to 9,000 meals to teens in our community, because for the group that gets together in person, we provide dinner and stuff, and then we provide meals to families that, like, some families, our kids are worried about what do we want for Christmas, and we're trying to buy all these presents. Well, a lot of families, one of my 12-year-olds said, I can't remember the last time I got a Christmas present. And it's heartbreaking. And so I work with local businesses to help with that and get gift cards. Even just, Chick-fil-A is always a donor, and Culver's is always a donor, and then, different other stuff. Nissan actually did a drive for us as well. But also the thing to think about is that when families I have a mom who's had a master's degree, and she's a teacher, and she's also selling beauty products from the Dead Sea as a side hustle, and she still can't afford her rent and to feed her. She's got a rugby player, she's got two big boys that like eat a lot of food. So some of these families can't afford to provide food for their families during school breaks. So they're not worried about Christmas presents, they're worried about how am I going to feed my kids over the break. So we have 100% graduation rate. We're from high school, and in our community, the last recorded stats that I've seen was 71 and 72% of Black and Latino students were graduating. 91 and 92% of Asian and Caucasian students were graduating. So there's 30% of the kids that are Black and Latino that were not graduating. Our school is now 50% kids of color. So that's not okay. So we are getting 100% of those kids to graduate. We're getting 100% of them on some kind of a college or career pathway. We've provided over 350 free support groups, and we at one time had 38% of teens had recorded that they were had some suicidal ideation, and they've chosen life. Like and I told you, I asked for that direct download from the Lord for that, because they trust me. And so sometimes with someone who's feeling super hopeless, there's just a moment where they're done. And if they have the means in that moment, then that's a problem. So if they don't, and they have someone who they trust that they can call, and think about that for your kids. Truly think about that. I always was very intentional about trying to find another like-minded parent that I trusted, or a counselor for my kids, just somebody that I knew if they didn't want to talk to me, which they probably don't, because they're not going to listen to what I say anyways, because I'm mom. Kristin, you could say to my kids exactly like what I would say to my kids, and they would hear you and they would not hear me.
This is true. It's true.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I feel like this is so like I said, so beautiful what you're doing. We could talk forever. I feel like I need to have you on again at some point. Maybe
Yeah.
the book comes out to share more,
Yes.
and maybe even have some of the alumni come on and share as well if they're open to it. Just throwing an idea out there.
For
I
sure.
do again, if you could just share just speak out the website, your email, your phone number, and I'll be sure to put this in the show notes as well. Want to make sure that people can connect with you. If you could do that again, just as people are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tammy Ryder-Harms, and the organization is Kaleidoscope Teens, and our website is kaleidoscopeteens.org. So KALEIDOSCOPE teens, plural, teens.org. And then my number is 952-500-9723. And my email is just tryderharms@kaleidoscopeteens.org. So reach out to me. I mean, if you have we'll be starting new in the fall online support groups. And the dream, if we have people that are really invested in our mission and the Lord gives the funding, I mean, I would love to empower other people and provide them with the curriculum to start groups in their area so that we can continue to expand. And I would love, 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 love international groups that get together online, because I think that it's really important to see that our experience is universal, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Amen, girl. This has been amazing. So as I do this, I do it for the one, and I would just love for you to get in mind the one who's listening in today. Do you have anything that you'd like to speak over them today? And then would you pray us out?
Absolutely. I will do both at the same time. We'll see
Yeah.
if I can do that. Okay. Heavenly Father, I am just so grateful for the connections that you create, that Kristin and I were able to cross paths, and that you've created this opportunity. This is for sure divine intervention, that we are here having this conversation today. And I'm going to pray here for the one. Like, if you are the one like me, that, I mean, you could be a single parent, you could not be a single parent, you could have teenagers anywhere from, 11 to 19 or 19 to 25 that are really struggling, that they don't feel like they fit in. They're feeling the weight of anxiety and experiencing depression, and it's coming out sideways. They don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they fit in. They don't have, they might be shy. They might not have friends. They're overwhelmed with the thought of having to decide, what the future brings for them. They're struggling because they have, like my kids, experienced some trauma and have some real legitimate pain that they are experiencing based on things they're experiencing in the home or at high school. Like, if your kid is struggling, like, I know you're struggling too, and the Lord sees you and the Lord sees your teen, and I want you to envision your child in the Lord's folded, cupped hands. He is holding them. He has given him a piggyback ride, but he's also like put people like Kristin on this earth to create awareness of programs like ours that is here. Like, I have leaned into my faith and it has saved my life, and he has led me to create this program to provide hope and possibility, and for kids to see their gifts and um, just choose life too, in some cases, if your child is struggling with suicidal ideation. So I also pray, like, the album that we did and some of the work that we're doing is also in loving memory of my sister who died by suicide, Stephanie, my cousin who died by suicide, his name is Chris, our photographer and a volunteer, her brother Roger Bloom died by suicide. And so, you know, um, we are here to love you and support you and give hope to you and hope to your struggling teens. And so I just pray that the Lord watches over you, that you can do what I did, which is I just had to get to my knee and just say, listen, I cannot be with my child 24/7 to keep them alive. Like, I had to realize that she is yours, that she is the Lord, she is not mine. And it's not up to me. I'm not her savior. She has a savior. But we also are given tools. We're given the word, we're giving our faith communities, and we're giving programs like this to help you as the parent and to help your kids just know that they were born on purpose and with a purpose, and help them thrive in life. So if you are the one, reach out to me, please. I got you. And the Lord has you too. So I always say that the Lord's got you and I got you. So together we'll make it through this crazy thing called life. And so with that, again, I'm so grateful and blessed to have this opportunity, and we'll pray for the rest of your summer and the kickoff of your school year. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
That was a long
I can
prayer,
only
sorry.
imagine. No, I love it. I love it. You are such a blessing. So we've got everything covered with your contact information. Like I said, I'll be sure to put the information in the show notes, and any other resources that she mentioned. I'll be sure to add those as well. So otherwise, I'm going to close with our anchoring verse over Hope Unlocked podcast. It's, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. And that's Romans 15:13. So thank you, Tammy, for being a brave voice who's setting so many free. And I so appreciate you being here today. I will be back with another episode next week. Bye, listeners.